Hello, today I would like to talk about how to manage the horde. So, the most important critical basic you need to keep in mind is you need to be outside of the horde. So you do not want to ever be surrounded like this. And if you are ever recognizing that enemies are coming in from all angles, pick an angle yourself and then focus 100% of your effort on getting out. That way you can keep moving. Second off, you want to abuse pushes. I have a video going more in depth on it, but there's a slot system in this game, which means there really can't ever be more than, if you're moving backwards, like 3 enemies attacking you at any given time. They just kind of queue up a chain of attacks. So one push, even in this situation where I'm completely surrounded, pay attention to this. One push is going to completely stop any potential attacks for like 3 seconds. So the things to keep in mind here, I'm going to immediately push for one way out of the horde, and then I'm just going to focus on killing them while kiting backwards so that I can't move or can't take damage. I'll explain what to do when elites or specials get involved as soon as I'm done with this example. Okay, so let me show you this. So, see, only a few of them can attack me. So I've got my bearings. There's a weak spot in the horde here, and I push and I'm out. And now it's pretty much just as simple as just slightly hold back, dodge anytime you hear that sound, use your ultimate on cooldown to keep all your buffs up, and see how only like 1 or 2 guys can run in and attack me? As long as I keep moving back like this, I don't actually have to worry about just about anything in the horde. I can just kind of keep mowing them down. And if you ever do get hit like this, you can just push into them, which completely staggers and stops all of their attacks, which allows you to completely focus on getting your toughness back so that you don't take chip damage on bleed through. Okay, that's cool and all, but that's just a horde of poxwalkers. What happens if there's, say, a dog? Because this is where people really... You guys are stuck in the wall. Something like a dog or a trapper is where things start getting really hard for most people. So let me just spawn... Not as much. I'm just gonna, just to give us a little something going on here. And now we're gonna spawn a dog and a trapper as well. Net gunner, there it is. So, in a situation like this, fighting the horde should be taking up 0% of your brain. There is absolutely no reason to be focusing on the horde at all. Because without something like a crusher or a mauler, there is an order of priority that has to go through your brain. There is nothing in here that can deal damage to you, like substantial damage. Unless there's like a crusher or a mauler that can potentially one-tap you, or like 5 gunners behind, say, that pillar there, so then you recognize you cannot walk past this pillar no matter what. Disablers become the only thing that can really cause you to take any damage. So what you really need to absolutely hard focus on are said disablers. So, you'll see here, I'm just going to hold block the entire time and not focus on any of this shit, because it is all irrelevant. So, I'm going to turn this on. Focus on this. Get rid of that guy. Now I know the trapper's coming in. Deal with that. And now the hordes are relevant. And then just focus on killing these 2. And now I can go back to dealing with the horde exactly as I did before. And now all the same rules apply. So there is absolutely an order of operations. Disablers are the first thing. If there's ever a disabler, mutant, trapper, dog, anything even remotely in the vicinity of you when you're fighting a horde, the fundamentals you need to keep in mind are, well, you get the idea. Let's say they're poxwalkers. You need to not let them conclave around you to like over here and over here, because let's say you need to dodge a trapper net and there's one guy right here out of view, you won't be able to dodge. So let's say you're fighting a horde, you're fighting, and then you hear like that stuff. Okay, so now you know immediately break off from the fighting and focus all of your senses, find the trapper, recognize where it's coming in, block while you're doing it so you don't take damage. This is where blocking becomes really effective. And as soon as you find the trapper, spam tag until you make sure that it's marked, and then continue focusing on it until you know that you can dodge it. So to give you an example of that, just give me a couple trash guys to simulate an example. And then give me a net gunner. And I'm playing with the sound off here, so it's not going to be as, simple. But you look around until you see the trapper. And then you mark it. So we're just going to straight up let the trapper go away, do its own thing. We're moving this. So you would hear the trapper right about now as soon as Spidey Sense picks it up. Because that's all it does, is it just takes the audio and visualizes it. So right now you would hear the trapper. Then you look for it, find it, tag it, ensure that you've dodged it, and you can try to, like, throw a knife or hunt it down or whatever. Or if the horde is too dense, then you just focus on dealing with that, and then you just keep running through that parameter like it's an algorithm. Disabler has run off, focus on deleting horde to build space, and then Disabler has re-entered the situation. Do not worry about horde, focus on not getting hit by the Disabler. And elites basically follow the same thinking. Now, there's one other thing that I'd like to talk about, and that is using push blocks to... You are not a horde enemy. Using push blocks to manage the horde. So, if you want to know why you should basically always be using a +3 stamina curio in, like, every single build in the game, it's a mixture of the slot system and stamina just being good. Stamina gives you a longer period to res people, more time to just block attacks like this while you look for the disablers and think about your next move or line up a throwing knife or something. But it also lets you push block significantly more. And I want to show you something with push blocking. So remember how I said the slot system, there can only be a few guys attacking you? Well, you see how this one, like, push is kind of able to just completely stop this horde? Because there's only ever a few people that can queue up attacks. So even if I'm totally surrounded, totally back against the wall, and by the way, we can go back to this, we found our way out, and look, now we have complete control over the horde. If, say, a trapper were to spawn in right now, we would just stop fighting this, look for the trapper, stamina comes in clutch, found the trapper, focus on it, let it shoot, dodge it, and then we go back to fighting the horde. When there's a lot less of these guys, then we, throw a knife or do something to kill the trapper. And those are the fundamental principles that will allow you to come out of absolutely any horde encounter with taking little to no damage, as long as you don't forget those principles. Oh, one thing I should also probably cover is the horde plus gunners. So let's make an absolute, like, worst case scenario here. Let's get surrounded back against the wall on a thick horde with elite gunners shooting at you. And no, I'm not going to use gunner damage resistance either, by the way, because you really do not want to get used to using that stat. So this is just about what everyone would consider to be, like, the worst possible situation. Back, forced against the wall. 1, 2, 3, 4. So 4 elite gunners with a clear open sight line. Your back is completely against the wall. Man, if I had sounds turned on, I would throw a disabler in here as well. But let me just show you this. So when it comes to getting around gunners, when you're sliding, you cannot take damage from gunners. And every weapon has a dodge counter. Like, as you see that 5 right next to my ultimate, that's ticking down every time I dodge. Slide dodging takes 2 of your dodges, so you gotta use them sparingly. Because as soon as you run out of your dodges, like this, you start, the dodge kind of stops working against melee enemies, but worth noting, the slide does still work. So you're just basically playing exactly how you would, but spursing slide dodges in there. So let me show you what this looks like. Okay, boys, you can start shooting whenever. I'm right here. Boys, please start shooting at me. What are you doing? Okay, this works. So, you see gunners are shooting. So now, you just slide dodge, do a couple push blocks, and look, the gunners aren't even hitting me. I don't have invincibility turned on. My stamina, my toughness, as you can see, can absolutely go down. So, when you're dealing with the horde plus gunners, just block the horde, recognize where the gunners are, and then just slide dodge your way out. And by the way, gunner damage resistance doesn't really help you at all here. That should honestly tell you just about everything you reasonably need to know. As long as you remember, prioritize staying alive at all costs and just stick to the basics. If there's gunners, ensure, and if you can't ensure it, make it your primary focus that you have room to maneuver and slide dodge, and you always have a way out from the horde. So, the order of operations. Make absolutely sure that if there's a disabler special around you or coming in, you have eyes on it, you have it marked. That way you can just see through the horde with the tag that it's in range to jump or pounce or shoot or whatever the fuck. And you can dodge it easily by using the tag. Then make sure that you are constantly sliding if there's gunners. And it should become pretty apparent that the horde is the least threatening part of horde management. The horde is just a blob of stats that can shred your health if you forget the basics. But yeah, I think this covers just about everything you could reasonably want to know about dealing with hordes.